You're listening to Seven Waves Teen Team on 92.1 FM, and today on the show we have Keris. She was born in Canada and brought up on the Wirral, and now lives with her husband and 2 sons in Lancashire. As Keris is a freelance journalist, she has written for publications as diverse as Practical Parenting, Scarlet and the Daily Express. But in 2005, she gave up her job to write full-time. Her first novel, Della Says OMG, was published by Orchard Books in 2010, and her second book, Jessie Hart's NYC, in 2011. But her new book, Emma Hart's LA, has already come out, and here she is to talk about it. So today on the show we've got Keris, and we're going to be asking her a few questions about her writing. How did you become a writer?
It's weird because I've always written stories for as long as I can remember. When I was a teenager and even before, I used to kind of sit at home at night just writing, filling notebooks with stories. I used to write stories about people that I liked. Like I wrote loads of notebooks full of stories about George Michael.
Yeah.
Me and George Michael. And I did it all the time. And then even after I'd left home, my friends used to ask me to write stories about them and people that they liked. In fact, one of the old friends from then asked me yesterday, she sent me a message asking me to write a story for her, and she's like 40 now. So I used to write all the time, but it never occurred to me to actually try to write a novel, I don't think, until I was kind of in my late 20s and I was in a job that I really hated. And then one day I just kind of thought, I think somebody probably said to me, because I had loads of stories about the job because it was so awful, somebody said, you should write a book. And it was like a light bulb moment, absolutely, that I just kind of thought, yeah, I should write a book. Of course I should write a book. That's what I should have been doing all along. And so that's when I started trying to write, but then it took me a long time to actually finish a book.
So is that what inspired you to start writing then, or is there another story behind that?
Yeah, well, that book, I didn't really write very much of that book at all. And then I started trying to write adult books. I spent quite a lot of time trying to write kind of adult chick lit books. And again, I didn't finish any of them.
Yeah.
And then the thing that really made me write a whole book, I suppose, with a beginning and middle and end. It still wasn't long enough, but it was a whole book, was NaNoWriMo. Have you heard of NaNoWriMo?
I haven't.
National Novel Writing Month. And it's a challenge every November to write 50,000 words during November. So it's 1,667 words a day, I think it is. And I did that for the first time in 2004. And so that was the first time I finished a book. So I think it was 1997 when I first started a book. And so it took me, 7 years to actually finish one.
What made you want to write for the teenage audience?
The year after I wrote that NaNoWriMo book, I had an idea that I thought would work better for teenagers. I was trying to think of what I used to really want to do when I was a teenager, and I thought about astral projection, which I was kind of obsessed with when I was a teenager and really used to try to do and never succeeded. And I thought there's hardly any books for I didn't know any books for teenagers about astral projection. And I still don't, actually. There's one that I read, which is probably how I got obsessed, which I think is Lois Duncan's Stranger with My Face. I think that's the one. Yeah. And I couldn't think of any more. And I still don't think that I haven't seen any since. So I started trying to write that book, and again, didn't finish it. And then the next idea that I had, I think I just enjoyed writing that one so much, and then I had another idea that I thought would work better for teenagers, and really loved writing that one, and then that was the book that I got my agent and my book deal with, although it's never been published. And once I started writing for teenagers, I knew that was what I wanted to do, because I just enjoyed it so much more.
Where or how do you get the ideas for your books?
Della Says OMG was it was inspired by something that happened to me, a similar thing that happened to me, which was when I was probably about 15, and my sister's 2 years younger, and our parents had gone on holiday, and we were supposed to be staying with our auntie. And my sister said she was going to go and stay with a friend of hers for the night, and I kind of guessed that she was actually going back to our house to have a party. And as it turned out, she had done that. And the next day when I went home, the house was kind of slightly wrecked, not the kind of thing that you see now with like Facebook parties, but mildly wrecked. And my diary was missing. And at the time, I kind of thought, well, I was worried that people at school would have it and would be like reading bits out from it.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, how much worse would it be now if that happened to somebody and you've got Facebook and Twitter and it could go viral and you could just be completely humiliated really quickly. So that was Della. And then with Jessie, I just wanted to write about New York because I love New York so much. And with Emma, I don't even really know with Emma. Quite often I'll start with the setting. So I found out about the Venice canals in LA. And when I first heard about them, I kind of assumed that they must all be filled in or something, because I thought, well, if they were actual canals, they'd be really famous. And I've never even heard of them. And then I looked them up and found that they were real canals. And as soon as I heard about them, I wanted to set a story there. So usually I start with the setting, or I start with the character, and then the actual story comes afterwards most of the time.
Yeah.
But it can be anything really. It can just be something that you see in the newspaper, or something, like a passing comment, or anything at all can spark a story idea.
How long on average does it take you to write a book?
Well, I try to write the first draft during NaNoWriMo, or at least as quickly as possible. If I can't wait until November, then I try to do it really quickly. So I think Emma took 6 weeks for the first draft, but then there's loads of rewrites from editing notes, and Emma had like a massive rewrite, the biggest rewrite of any of the books that I've written. So I don't know, I'd probably say that from start to finish it's probably 6 to 9 months, but a lot of that is kind of toing and froing and waiting around, not actual writing. What
has been your biggest writing achievement?
I think probably finishing a book was the biggest achievement, because it's really strange, because every single thing that you do with writing, it's the next thing becomes, you have an aim. So all I want to do is finish a book, and I finished it, and then it was all I want to do is get an agent, and all I want to do is get published. And then once you do get published, then it's like, I want another deal, and I want another book. I think probably one of the things that kind of meant the most to me was being shortlisted. Della Says OMG was shortlisted for Lancashire Book of the Year last year, and that was just a complete surprise, and it was absolutely lovely, and I was so thrilled because of all of the awards. I think that's the one that they have a lunch and a panel and a dinner and a presentation, and it's quite a big deal. So that was really lovely to go and kind of meet other authors and meet the readers, and that it's actually shortlisted and voted for by readers as well. So that was really, really brilliant. But every day, it's seeing it on the shelves or getting an email from a reader. It's just amazing, really. I still can't quite believe it's really happened.
What book did you enjoy writing the most?
Probably Della Says OMG, because it was quite good fun to write, and also there was not so much pressure, I don't think. Yeah. It might have, I can't really remember. It's it's once I finish writing, I kind of forget everything about it. But I think I enjoyed that one the most, and I know that I wrote quite a lot of it on holiday, so I must have been enjoying it if I was actually writing it on holiday.
Yeah.
And then I did really enjoy writing Emma, the first draft of Emma, but then when I got the edits back, I was horrified. So that turned into a bit of a nightmare, but it's all worked out fine.
Could you give us an insight of your new book?
It is. If you've read Jessie Hearts NYC, then she goes to New York with her best friend Emma, and Emma Hearts LA is Emma going to LA. Her parents have split up, and her mum has got a new job in LA at the university, and Emma doesn't want to go because she's there's so many changes in her life after her parents split up, and her best friend obviously moved away, and she wants to stay nearer to the friends that she's, that are nearby. She doesn't want any more changes in her life, so she really doesn't want to go to LA. And in LA is her mum's working with a friend of the family who has a son that Emma was good friends with growing up, who's kind of a bit of a dork, and he's going to be the only person that Emma knows in LA, and she's not really fussed about it. But then when she gets to LA, she finds that he's not quite such a dork anymore. Well, he is a dork, but he's a much cuter dork than he was when she last saw him. And then there's a boy in it as well who is a star of a teen TV show. So she she's quite interested in him as well, but obviously he's got kind of paparazzi and attention and things around that she doesn't know how to deal with.
So, as you said before, was this book just come off the top of your head, or was it just an idea that came to you?
Well, I knew I wanted to really write a kind of stronger lead character, because I think with Della and Jessie, they were both very insecure, particularly Della. And I wanted a character who was, because it wasn't originally going to be Emma, I just wanted a character who was going to be quite strong and sure of herself, and, quite snarky, really. And then I thought, I've already got a character like that. I've got Emma, and I really liked Emma when I was writing Jessie. So really it just came out of what I wanted to do with Emma. And I thought it would be really good to kind of just take her completely out of her comfort zone. And then she does end up being quite insecure. But she's quite a tough cookie, really. She deals with things differently than Jessie and Della would.
When is this book available for us to buy and read?
It came out on the 7th of June, I think. So, it's available now, and it's in Woodstones, and obviously it's on Amazon, and you should be able to get it, in all good bookshops, as they say.
What are your plans for the future?
Well, I'm writing a book at the minute, which is actually for younger readers. It's for 9 to 12. So I'm just actually, when I finish talking to you, I've got to go and do a redraft of that and then send it off to my agent. And then I've got another teen book, which is set in Italy, partly in Rome and partly in Amalfi, which is another teen romance.
What would you say to new writers?
When I was starting, well, probably for years and years after I started to write, I was always trying to kind of find out the secret of, how to finish a book or how to start a book even. And it took me a really, really long time to work out that there isn't a secret at all. You actually just have to sit down and write, which is a really, it's really boring, but that's what you have to do. And I think write what you want to write, not what you think other people want to read, because then it's much more fun to actually write something that you are going to enjoy yourself than trying to write something about angels or vampires because you think that's what people want.
And obviously it would make it a better story as well if you enjoy it more and get into it.
If you enjoy writing it, it should do in theory,
And if people would like to find out more about you or latest news on your writing new books and stuff like that, where can they go to?
My website is keris-stainton.com, or I am always on Twitter, and my Twitter name is just Keris, Keris.
Okay, thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you very much for having me.